It's crucifixion day. The man they thought was God, their Messiah, the one to deliver them, has been brutally beaten and now hangs there dead on a cross. Their hopes and dreams gone. The miracle they had hoped for hasn't happened. It's too late. It's all over. I think most of us can relate to that at some point in our lives. My life has been full of painful, dark times. It's a long story, one of abuse, addiction, neglect, poor health, and death. So many times it's felt like the God I thought would deliver me had failed, and that all hope was lost. There have been times this last year when it's felt like a perpetual Good Friday, a string of painful events. This time last year, I got a phone call whilst away from home to tell me the one I loved had died suddenly. I was crushed. Over the next year, I faced the death of 3 more close to me. Grief seemed to heap on top of each other. And all of this happened alongside my own body failing me. Spending months at a time in hospital, eventually getting discharged, only to repeatedly find myself back there a few months later. Whilst navigating death and grief, I faced grueling medical procedures, pain, malnutrition, loss of mobility, and a body that just wouldn't cooperate. It's safe to say it felt really dark at times. I've spent a lot of time looking at the accounts of Crucifixion Day, the darkest of days, when all hope seemed to be lost. I was left with the question of, when it seems like God hasn't come through, when it's just too late, when the miracle hasn't happened, will I be like those few who stayed and sat, who proclaimed him even in that moment as God and King, who chose to continue to honour him? When I'm living life at the cross and not the empty grave, will I still choose to praise? My answer is yes. I'm at the foot of the cross, but I lift my eyes and there I see a God who chose to become a man, who chose the hard path, who experienced abuse and pain and suffering and ultimately an agonising death. And I know I'm not alone. God doesn't leave me in the pain of life. He doesn't even stand at a distance trying to imagine what it's all like. But a God who has experienced it all himself, who's lived the darkest days, who's cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me? And I know I'm understood. I'm drawn into an intimate relationship where I'm known and held by him, and I can't help but love him back, because he gave up everything, by choice, to make beauty out of the ashes of this world and of my life.